thanks for what you do with your podcast and all the rest. You're doing a great job. Hope everybody keeps tuning in. You get a lot of good info, a lot of insights, understandings of how to get strong, how to stay strong, how to use your strength.
You do a great job, dude. You make things better than they are in real life, I think.
If you don't follow Massenomics, y'all do it. Social media, website, everything.
Massenomics.
We are back for episode 328 of the Massenomics podcast, the lifting podcast about nothing. My name is Tanner.
And my name is Tommy.
Tommy, we got a doozy this week.
Real doozy.
We're just knocking off these cool special guests one after another. Last week we talked to Big John Hack. This week we got Big Dr. Aaron Horschig of Squat University. So it's been quite the roller coaster ride, I guess, hasn't it?
Let those good times roll.
Yeah. Before we roll too much into those good times, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the Strength Co. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the Strength Co.
Please
this
do.
week. So we'll try this. We haven't done this in a while. Grant Brogy was born in the late 80s, nearly 2 decades after Buddy Capps began lifting. In the late 90s, Grant's brother Jordan bought him the new Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Grant's love for weightlifting began. In 2001, Grant joined the local YMCA and began training with weights. In 2009, Grant discovered the book Starting Strength, and in 2012, as a lieutenant in the Marine Corps, he began teaching Marines this method. In 2017, Grant opened his first gym in Costa Mesa, California, and the Strength Co. was born. In 2020, during a major iron shortage, Grant sought to bring back quality manufacturing of Olympic barbell plates in America. His innovation, adaptation, and can-do attitude brought about the greatest plates made in decades. The plates were accurate, anti-fragile, and instantly became the go-to plates of hundreds of lifters at the Massenomics gym. So make sure to check out the Strength Co. plates. Head over to, the Strength Co. and get yourself, we've talked about it before that the 10-pound plates are some of our favorite, but I would get a full set of all the plates that you could get there.
Yeah, do them all.
And then today's episode is also brought to you by SPUD Inc. straps. And I was going to pick out a particular product to talk about today. Let's go with, I'm going to go with the Pole Sitter Magic Carpet Sled. So this is similar to what they use for the Army combat, or what the new Army physical fitness test is. This is the one that they use in that. So you could get this very same one that they use. It's the one they use in the ACFT testing standards. So if you're in the Army, it would be great to buy this to train with. We probably have quite a few of military listeners out there, Army listeners. And the Pole Sitter is made to lead the pack with the sleeker and easier to load bumper plate loading pin. The pin is reinforced by 2 added support strips. The addition of the loading pin allowed the tie-down strap to be moved to the front of the sled, so the pressure is taken completely off the securing strap. The handle strap is built and eliminates the need for the 2-piece of equipment, like in some other sleds are set up. So I wish I could show you a picture of it. I can't. It's a very nice looking sled.
You're
it's
just reasonably
paint a
priced.
Word
picture instead.
Yeah, I'll just paint. I'm trying to paint a word picture on it. Check it out. And they also have several other different, if this isn't the exact weight sled you want, they have several different variations, some more portable than others. Check them out at spud-ink-straps.com and make sure to order over $75 worth of stuff, and that way you get free shipping. So you almost can't afford not to do that.
Gots to do it.
Yeah. So thank you, Spud Inc. and the Strength Co. More to come on the Strength Co. a little later in the show, possibly.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, that's a little teaser for what we might have in front of us.
So we're getting it started early today, Tanner.
Oh yeah,
This isn't our normal broadcast time.
No, we're on an afternoon show. The sun is out. It's a nice July day here in western northeast South Dakota. Weather update. It's nice out.
Yep. It's a special day, special recording time when over Tommy's shoulder here, there's sun coming in behind that little crack of window you can see.
It just hits a little bit different in here.
You don't get that every day.
I've been in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota.
Really?
Yeah.
Man.
Kind of did the whole tri-state.
Yep.
Tri-state triangle.
You were on just vacation, just sitting in the sun, and you came home early just for this podcast.
It's actually craziest thing. I went golfing after all this.
You had to go.
I
did enjoy. There was a
little
lot of a lot of comments in the Discord regarding you being on a golf course.
Yep. The windshields were smashed. I'll say
And everyone's
that.
like, you stinker. Like, you got us.
They'd be like, you found the loophole. Another one knows about the loophole. You can just do it with the golf balls.
Nothing we can do here.
So yeah, I got to do a lot of worry-free vandalism, which that was a lot of fun.
Can't beat that.
I did golf 18 holes.
Were you sore at all? Did you actually golf all 18?
Yeah.
Were you sore at all the next day?
I wasn't sore until... So I had this thought several times today. I kept going, I golfed yesterday, and today I kept going, my right elbow feels like I have tendonitis in it. And I completely kept forgetting about why that might be. And like the 10th time I like bumped it on something, I was like, oh wait, it's gotta be from golfing. Cause I went there on this trip. My elbow didn't hurt at all. It's not something that something crazy uncommon. Like I get how you get like
it's just like
a little elbow
those,
pain from lifting or
there's always
like
one
that.
of those little nagging things.
Yeah. And today I kept being like, what did I do? Like it wasn't bothering me last time I benched at all. And then it was literally like the 10th time I thought about it today. Cause I keep forgetting. And then you do something and you're like, why is that annoying? And then I was like, wait, that has to be from golf. There's no way that's not.
I'd say 100%. Yeah.
But I wasn't, other than that, no, not sore at all.
All good.
Yeah. There's just that one little tiny pinpoint thing. And it's completely minor and will just go away in like a day. But
well, that's what you think.
Well, it could be with me for 10 years. That'd be another favor that golf did for me.
Yeah. The collateral damage of a work golf trip.
Yeah. I didn't there. We golfed along a lot of roads. There was a lot of roads pretty close. There? Nobody hit any balls into the roads.
Just you're with a skilled group.
I guess
skilled group of golfers there.
That couldn't be true that I was there. And I managed. It made me appreciate actually because this is the last time I golfed since a year ago when I did this event. Summer. So I forget what it's like. And now really thinking about that guy's shot that did hit my windshield, that is a really bad shot. Like I just played 18 holes of golf. I'm terrible at golf. I never play. And I didn't hit a single shot that was that bad.
Yeah.
There is no way. I mean, you would almost have to be standing completely the wrong direction.
Usually if you slice it, most people know they slice it. So you compensate for it a certain extent.
Right.
Not saying it's not possible, but usually you know what you're getting into there.
Yeah. It did make me realize though that didn't happen at all. Like me being as bad at golf as I am. And it wouldn't have been a thing. There wasn't a single shot I had that could have happened that far off course. And I did 18 holes of golf. It was a pretty treed area. I think I only lost 4 golf balls.
Really?
That's
for pretty good.
I was like, hey, that is a win.
I even play golf a little bit and I could very easily do that.
Yeah. Cause I bought I don't know if it was like 5 sleeves of 3, so it was like 15 balls, and I was like, I very well could use all of these for all.
Gonna need all of them. We'll put all of these.
Could
in the
hit
bag.
like 4 in the water on one hole. Potentially, it wouldn't be crazy for that to happen. So I was most impressed with myself that I only went through like 4 golf balls.
That is pretty good.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. So that was my highlight of my golf game.
Wow.
Yeah.
You also got to. Did you get some knowledge imparted on you?
Oh yeah. So that's what I wanted to talk to everyone about, really. So have you read the book Extreme Ownership before? You're just aware of it?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I'd gotten the audio book of it, and I got about halfway through, and I mean, it's more of like a business kind of book.
For sure.
I didn't feel like it pertained to me. It's a whole lot about like working in teams and things like that.
Yeah, it's about relationships within a business.
Yeah, and for me, especially for half of my job, I'm working alone, and the other half of my job, I'm working with you, Tanner. And I just like this.
It's more
just
so
didn't
about
connect with me.
Larger teams, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's not even really about the.
And I didn't when I listened. So I quit. I got like halfway into the book and I quit. There wasn't anything in there that I found like bad or anything. I just felt like if I'm gonna listen to a business book, this one just at this point in my life doesn't feel super applicable to me. So I'll listen to a different one. So yeah, I did not finish the book.
Yeah, so I went through the whole thing, and then we had a speaker this weekend that it wasn't Jocko and it wasn't Babin, the other guy that authors that book. It was someone else that works. It's like Echelon Front, I think, is their company that Jocko owns. That's like their
coaching.
their coaching company. It was one of another Navy SEAL that works for them. I assume.
Okay, so he was a Navy SEAL.
He was.
I was curious if that
he's
was
also a Navy SEAL, right. And so he had a lot of similar stories to what they talk about in the book, and he's really well.
Did he say, "I want to get it out of the way"? Does anyone in here ever served in the armed forces? And you stood up and were like, "Yes, sir!" Like
that. There wasn't it was a hand raised scenario, not.
Oh, he did ask though.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And there was maybe there's probably 50 of us there, and I think there was three or four of us that had, but we didn't. I liked that it wasn't. It
wasn't
like
a sticking point.
No, it wasn't like a big thing that we had to discuss about a lot. But it was just that is going back to extreme ownership. Though I just thought it's interesting, because I don't necessarily buy into a lot of the. I don't know, pre-scripted business environment coaching, stuff like that.
Corporate business talk.
Right. Like in some of these seminars, even where I'm
where you have a whole meeting and everyone's just shaking their head yep, we're not doing any of this.
Yes.
Yes. Very good. Okay, let's get this over with.
And that's kind of my feel going into anything like that, any of it at all. And I guess I would say that this was better than... this was above average.
Would you say it felt a lot more no nonsense than
it did. And it's still if you're just going to run one of those coaching, a company like that's training businesses and their employees, you've got to kind of come up with these, you've got to have
you have to have your marketing things, and things have to be branded to you.
Right.
Otherwise it's well, what do you do?
Right. So I get you have to do that, but I guess if you take some of that with a grain of salt, and then some of it's not too bad. I guess what I would say is I have kind of a negative perception of those things, and this was better than...
You walked away feeling like you didn't actually waste your time.
This was better than... And also what I liked about the book is... the Navy SEAL stories were interesting, and that's half the book at least. Yeah. So I'm at least we're going to go back and forth here. The how it applies to the business world is it just, of course, not as interesting of a story as how these Navy SEALs did in Iraq.
This attack squadron.
Right,
and it's all right, but back to that guy that couldn't get his work done on time.
Yeah. So at least half the book is actually kind of a captivating or
a release from reality.
Right. So that's my take on extreme ownership.
All right, that's your critical review.
If you want to know more about what extreme ownership actually really means, you'll just have to read the book for yourself.
That'd probably be straight from the horse's mouth, right?
Yep. But have you ever listened to Jocko's podcast at all?
No, but I've heard him I've heard him on Joe Rogan before.
Okay, he's been on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't his big thing waking up at 4 a.m.? Isn't that always? Doesn't he take a picture of his watch every day?
That is him, right? Yeah. Okay. And
I don't know if he still does that or not. But I know at the time he was big into that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
I've never really listened to much to his podcast. I've maybe caught it here and there on a couple things, but I'm not super familiar outside of this.
Yeah. Charismatic though. I think the people that like him really like him.
Yeah, for sure. So that is extreme ownership. Do I recommend it? Maybe.
It's about as good of a recommendation as you can get around here.
Yeah, so we had the drink spotter trick shot videos contest still going on.
They're
right?
funneling in. We're only 2.5 days in.
Yep, and we've got quite a few submissions. So I think today there's maybe 2 or 3 more that popped in. So we won't go through all of them in detail, but we always just like to give an update on any active contests that it is going on. And we have enjoyed a lot of the submissions so far, but we look forward to more. There's still, as we sit here, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, at least 4 more days that people could get one sent in.
There's still plenty of time to get one sent in. If you're listening to this as it comes out, though, go and review all those because there's going to be a lot to look at.
And, of course, the winner gets to win the gold 24 karat gold-plated drink spotter, and that is real 24 karat gold plating.
That's not just for the contest. That is... in fact, plated with real gold.
And then runners-up will win the caution must keep drink spotted in this area drink spotter caution sign, which is also for sale now. We don't have gold drink spotters for sale on the website, but you can go buy that metal caution sign on the website.
Can never be too safe.
No, safety is never an accident when you place it first.
Or you place your drink in the right spot.
And I love gold. Okay. We've been talking some about running a meet here, but I don't know. Do we want to talk about that now, or maybe we'll talk about that more later
how many minutes
too?
do we got here? We got about 5 minutes.
Maybe we should just do. We should jump into supporting our supporting members.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because we got. I
also have a can here. Tanner.
Oh well, let's do the can.
Trying to decide how I want to do this, because this, you know, we're not going to do a full. We've done this one before.
Okay,
we've done this one before, so we won't do a full what's in the can.
Okay,
but this is a very special can. I'll see if you can
All
remember it. If you can remember this thing.
Oh,
do you remember this?
I remember something with a top like this.
I think you had a blindfold on,
Okay.
and this would have been. We for sure had these when we recorded in there. The other room, which was that a year and a half, 2 years ago?
Probably.
And this is still from that original.
This has been in your fridge?
I've never finished these things. So
were they good? Or?
I mean, it's water. It can't go bad, can it?
But I mean, how come you didn't finish them?
I actually didn't realize they were in there.
Or something?
Well, my wife has been getting groceries the last few times. Typically, I get groceries. And she's had a bad habit of not getting sparkling waters. And so the beverage fridge is getting very cleared out.
Yeah.
And I'm digging in there and I'm like, oh, there's that like Korean flavored milk in here.
Yeah.
We have some hoose juice. We have a cake flavored ugly water.
That
and
Korean banana milk.
2 of these.
Well, these although I don't like this foil top over
It's
it.
totally excessive, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we have a S. Pellegrino, dark Morello cherry and pomegranate. And because it's so fancy, it has to have a foil like yogurt top over the top of the actual
like the
can.
foil top doesn't even like come off all that well.
No, not very easily. But yeah, it's water, so I can't imagine it goes bad.
We'll see if it still has bubbles.
It's just flat.
Oh yeah.
It's not super bubbly.
No.
It's not like LaCroix bubbly.
I think I would have got the cherry of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
I don't know what I gave it the first time.
Yeah.
But I'd give it 3.5. I guess.
I'd say right around there.
Yeah. Pretty good. Kind of tastes like cherry cola, so that's never a bad thing.
I'm still kind of thrown off by the somewhat lack of carbonation. I don't know if that's due to the age or that's how the brand actually is, but
yeah. Maybe it has. Maybe it does lose some after a certain point.
very well could. Okay. All right. Oh, you had some.
Supporting our supporting members. So, number one, Big Steven, Big Waffle Iron Jim. He competed in a track meet this week.
Yeah. I forget. He's done multiple of these,
yeah,
right?
He's done it before. And I even said on the Discord, I was like,
where do these exist?
Yeah, I never knew that you could just go do adult track meets. And some people made the comment that they think you can do college track meets if you just like sign up unaffiliated.
What? Really?
Yeah. Big Nate said you can.
What? That's a thing? They'll let you in?
I don't know. I would dare to test that someday.
That seems hard to believe.
That'd be fun. Like, is there an age limitation?
Well, and how many events are NCAA sanctioned where they're like, oh, and also this sporting event is open to the public as well? Doesn't that seem crazy?
Yeah.
I get track is a little different because you're sort of competing against yourself, but
Big Nate linked it in Discord, so later I'll do my homework and look into that and check and follow up. Maybe someday we'll do a collegiate. Maybe both of us will go do a collegiate track meet as a.
This is a real test of skill.
Yeah. And then Big Carp, supporting member, he had Kurt Locker, who puts out a lot of home gym reviews, home gym information. He had him over for a gym tour of Big Eric Carpenter's gym. And then, coincidentally, in the same week, Big Keith of the Discord crew had Gluck's gym over for a gym tour of his gym. So we had not one, but two Discord members
getting their gym
featured on other YouTube channels.
Man,
in 1 week.
That's exposure there.
That is. And then
it must mean the people that like Massenomics have very fine tastes in gyms.
Fine tastes all around if they like Massenomics, I would assume.
It's true.
Then last, of course, certainly not least, is Big Grant. We mentioned there'd be more Strength Co talk. Big Grant is getting married. Do you think it's this
not
weekend?
just Big Grant. Big D.
Big D and Big Grant, yes, together.
It's a family affair.
Yes, Big Grant and yes, both supporting members are getting married this weekend.
Like to each other. They're not both getting married. Like they are getting married to each other.
Yes. I suppose that's important.
They met in the Discord 6 months ago and they just hit it off ever since.
Wouldn't that be funny if they met?
That's actually not how that story went, but it would be very funny if that was the case. Like, oh, we both live in Southern California.
But we met in the
Massenomics Discord. Well, we did have people meeting up from the Netherlands in our Discord.
That's true.
Just yesterday.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, that's true.
And there are some pockets of the country.
So they did have a meetup.
No, I think they were saying,
or they were planning a meetup.
Yeah, I think they're planning one. But but there are pockets of people in the Discord in certain parts of the country that have a pretty good concentration.
Yes.
But Big D, congratulations on your wedding. I think they get married Saturday or Sunday. So, we're recording this one. A couple days. Yeah. Congrats, guys.
Cheers. We'll drink a couple of sparkling waters from you from South Dakota.
Yeah, we'll put on our finest bolo ties and celebrate from afar.
Yes. Bolo ties and cowboy boots.
Traditional wedding attire.
So that's our supporting members segment. It's a relatively new segment to the show. We do it to give back a little bit each week. We have these supporting members that support the show financially, and you can do that as well if you want to. Head over to our website, and you can sign up to become a supporting member as well. And then you never know, maybe you'll get on this segment. You can listen to the podcast live each week when we record. There's a discount code.
Join a Discord of very like-minded individuals, very active like-minded.
We do random things like we sent out membership cards a couple months ago, and we've got other things planned. So get signed up now so you don't miss out on any of those future. If you've been waiting to sign up, now's the time.
Now is the time. No time like now.
That's right.
Okay, should we get our guest on?
Let's do it.
All right. Bye, Discord.
See you, Discord. Okay. So we should get him on. Did you say we should get him on the old horn?
I think so.
Okay.
Unless we were doing an elaborate prank where we just line this up months in advance to not call him.
Well, it's almost happened before. But it's not going to happen today. If I can. Here we go.
Just push.
We're getting him on the old horn.
Hello?
Hey, Aaron, is that you?
Yes, this is Aaron.
You are live on the Massenomics podcast with Tanner and Tommy.
What's up, Aaron?
Awesome. How you doing?
We're doing great. We're excited to get you on. Do you prefer Aaron, Big Aaron, or Dr. Aaron?
Just Aaron's fine.
Okay. We usually call everyone Big, so it's kind of a title of honor around here.
I gotcha.
So we might call you Big Aaron sometimes too.
No worries. I appreciate having me on, guys.
Yeah, we're excited. We've been hoping to get to you for a long time, and we're pumped that you're taking the time. We've got a whole laundry list of questions to talk to you about.
Awesome. I'm pumped to get into it.
All right. We honestly do. In your case, we do have a whole big long list of questions, and I think we're not going to get maybe too much into your origins and stuff like that. I think people can listen to that some of that stuff on other podcasts, and I think we just got a list of interesting stuff we want to go through. So we're just going to fire some stuff at you.
Let's do it.
All right. So when you started Squat University, actually, I said we're not going to talk about the origins, but one
the thing we said we're not going to do. We're going to do
one
that.
specific part of that origin. Your name. Was there any alternative choices you were considering at the time, or did you know? I mean, I assume you had an idea what you were going to do, but did you know the name was going to be Squat University, or did you have other choices in mind?
You know, I probably threw out a couple different ones when I first started, but actually, funny story, Squat University was actually sort of the tentative name of my very first book, the Squat Bible. So it was sort of going off of that. I was going to name sort of what I created at social media as also the brand of my first book. And then I sort of switched that up and just kept Squat University. So it all sort of just stemmed from the idea that the squat was sort of this fundamental human movement that I think we had gotten twisted, thinking that it was the exercise that was the big thing to concentrate on and not to move well first before you move big weight. So it was that idea that the squat was one of those fundamental human movements that was inherently flawed within a lot of people. And then when you do reprioritize the squat, it allows so many other different movements and exercises to sort of fall back into a place. So that was sort of where the idea Squat University came from, was not only just the movement, but then also the idea of trying to help educate people in a way that, you know, you could take that information from the ivory tower that so many people try to talk down to others and use a lot of higher level language and things that don't really create a lot of empowerment because they overcomplicate things. but still try to take that understanding, but give it to the people, I guess, in a way that's easily digestible that they can then take and become empowered to actually make a change in their life.
That makes sense. So with what you said with the squat in particular as a movement that maybe some people were that doing that properly or being able to do that properly can build into other things. So with that in mind, would you say the squat fundamentally as a movement is more important than a deadlift, or would that be a bad assumption to make from that?
I mean, I would say this: the squat is we got to think about it as a movement before an exercise, because that's the thing a lot of people get twisted or just concentrate on the exercise before a movement. If we're talking about just movements, then we're going to break the deadlift sort of more so into the hinge, in which case they're all just important fundamental movements that we should have capable of us as humans. However, I will say as we age, most people maintain the ability to hinge as we sort of pick up anything off the ground in a hinge. However, if you ask, 140 to 50-year-olds, hey, perform a full depth movement squat, just sit down as deep as possible, you'll see a lot of people struggle with that. However, you tell them, hey, hinge over to pick this box off the ground, you'll see a little bit better competency within the deadlift hinge motion. Now, when we're talking about the exercise, obviously there's a lot of variation that goes on with it, because I don't think there's any golden rule that says you have to barbell back squat. You don't have to, straight bar conventional deadlift. From there's so many different variations. But in which case, I would still say, in my opinion, the squat is one of those pillars, just like the deadlift. I don't think I would exclude it completely from anyone's training program.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it actually works out good because Squat University just has a much better ring to it than Hinge University or Straight Bar Deadlift University too. It just rolls off a little better.
A great coincidence. Yeah. So as a physical therapist and what you've done with Squat University, and your actual clients that you do, have you ever come across any or many issues that someone's personally having that you ever just ended with feeling stumped or felt like there wasn't a resolution for, or there wasn't a way to actually make it better? Does that ever happen?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, I'll say this. I mean, every single person that comes to me as a patient has an injury that is a puzzle for some reason. And I'll say a lot of the people that are coming to me now, they've already tried other options. They've gone to other physical therapists, chiros, athletic trainers, doctors. They've tried to do as much as possible, yet it hasn't worked. So that I'm sort of their next or last resort. Just because I have people right now that are traveling to me from all over the United States or all over the world sometimes. So there are those very puzzling cases. In saying that, I also really enjoy puzzles because it keeps me on my toes and it's interesting. I'm not just seeing grandma with a total knee replacement, in which case the rehab from a physical therapy standpoint isn't extremely challenging. I mean, it's get the motion back, load the motion, get them more functional. You know what I'm saying? But if someone comes to you and they're like, I've had this back pain for 8 years and I've tried 3 different physical therapists, 2 different chiropractors, I've had 5 different cortisone shots. Like, there's a lot that goes into that to try to unpack. Now, I will say I have found with the methods that I have learned from others, and again, I'm a big proponent of trying to acknowledge those that I have learned from, just because I'm only, what's the line? I'm only a dwarf standing on the shoulders of giants who have come before me. So I've learned a ton from people like Dr. Stuart McGill, Kelly Starrett, Gray Cook, a lot of those bigger names within the physical therapy or even strength and conditioning field. In saying that, because I've learned so much from these people, I feel like I've gotten to a position where a lot of my patients are able to find good success. But in saying that, there are always going to be people that do leave you sort of puzzled. Sometimes it takes much longer than you would hope, to sort of find that solution. Sometimes there's a lot of bumps in the road. I always try to tell people, like, when you come to me for an injury, like, it's rarely going to be, especially if this is a long time injury, you've dealt with this for 4 or 5 years. It's not going to be, all right, here's our intervention, and then you're getting better every single day. Like, there are going to be bumps in the road. Every rehab is never going to be 100% perfect. So there are instances where I'm stumped, or we change things up, or we're changing the presentation sort of as the person goes and maybe gets back into lifting. And then there have been those cases that, unfortunately we do as best as we can, and physical therapy just isn't sometimes the best route for some people based on their injuries. And unfortunately, that's when we know, there are other options and different solutions for people's pain. And sometimes it is something that doesn't include physical therapy.
I've seen you've had several videos with Travis Ortmeyer recently, and even just some other, what you might consider your more average lifter or your everyday lifter. And it seems like they come to you and they have, especially in the case of Travis, like these pains that have been nagging them, like you're saying, for years. And it looks like you do like 2 little tests, you adjust one thing, and then boom, the pain's gone. Like, how common is that for you to have like people that have had these nagging things forever? There's just a few little things you can tweak and you can more or less fix it on the spot, it seems like.
I would say it is fairly common within the way in which I approach an evaluation. Now, when someone comes to me with some sort of a complaint, there's different patterns and things that I'm listening for within their words that they're telling me to describe their injury. That leads me to the different tests that I perform. And again, if I've seen 500 athletes with anterior hip pain going into the bottom of the squat, there's different patterns of things that you see. So you sort of know when you're going along the tests, okay, this is what I find with this test. This is usually the exercise that I'm going to give because I know exactly what this test is showing me. It's going to give me the results I'm looking for. So, a lot of the things that I do, I try to tell people, I'm not the smartest physical therapist in the world, but what I understand are principles and patterns of how the body operates under load and sort of what different things we can do to find the right puzzle pieces. And for me, example, I see a lot of strength athletes. So I see a lot of very similar issues. I am not seeing a wide variety of athletics. So you'll find that a number of different injuries within strength athletes sort of fit within different patterns. We see a lot of flexion intolerant low back issues. We see a lot of instability type issues. So a lot of the things that we're doing, they seem sort of simple or obvious, but you'd be surprised how many practitioners these people have often gone and seen, and that's not the route that they take. But that's also a big reason why I try to show the process to so many people, to be like, hey, if this is something that you're experiencing, try this test. What did you find? Try this intervention. And what did you find with the retest? Because the thing that we see a lot of days with our social media is it's like, hey, you have back pain? Here's 5 things to try. And that's not how true rehabilitation from an injury actually works, because you have to individualize the treatment. You can't just throw a bunch of random things at the person and assume that it's going to fix just because it worked for someone else. So it comes down to the evaluation. And sometimes there are certain things that I'll look for that sometimes, with the test retest, the answer isn't always extremely complicated. Sometimes it's fairly straightforward, and then it's just being very diligent to maintain what we're doing and then slowly reload the body.
Okay. That makes sense. And you mentioned how you work with quite a few different strength athletes. Tommy brought up Travis Ortmeyer, and seeing you work with other really high level strongmen, power lifters, people like Martins or Julius Maddox, just a bunch of, what I would consider to be crazy strong individuals. Is there any particular individual or particular thing you've seen any of them do with your working them that just really blows your mind, just where showing how some of these guys really, or women really are kind of, the
built different.
Yeah. Built different, or the, freaks of freaks, in a positive way, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I would say a lot of these really high level athletes are, freaks as far as their abilities, a lot of the strongmen, they're extremely athletic. To be able to see someone, for example, Martins, when he came to me, he was only at a light 320 pounds. So he beefs up much more when he's getting closer to world's strongest man. The guy is extremely extremely athletic and extremely knowledgeable as well. I mean, these aren't just your run-of-the-mill sort of big dumb athletes. I mean, they're very educated, not only in technique, but how to approach training, how to approach their body. They understand the nuances of training and how important technique is, because they know that, the smallest differences in their ability to handle big load could be the end of their career, if they're not doing it right. But I mean, things that have blown me away, for example, I work with JP Price out in Kansas City, who's, one of the few people to be able to squat 1,000 pounds. And, I mean, JP, when I first started working with him, I mean, he was big JP, so he was over 400 pounds before he slimmed down. And I had him during our evaluation just perform a single leg squat. And again, when I'm testing these really big guys, I'm not looking for them to perform a pistol squat. The idea is looking for, is there a big difference in single leg stance stability side to side, and just your ability to control even a partial single leg squat. And I mean, JP almost busted out a full depth ass to grass pistol squat. And you're just looking at that and you're like, oh, that's a 400-pound man doing a pistol squat. So there's a lot of things that surprise me as far as those go. I've recently, for the past almost 2.5 years now, been working with Mirabai Chinu from India. Her and her coach and a couple other people fly over from India a couple times a year. And she lifts within the 49 kilo weight class, so very, very light. And she clean and jerked a world record in her weight class, 119 kilos, last spring leading up to, or I guess it's been, last spring. So 2021, the Asian Championships, clean jerked 119 kilos. So it's just crazy sometimes to see the strength of someone that's, barely over 4 feet tall. I mean, she's very, very small, yet her strength is so great. So it's really, really cool, and a pleasure to be able to work with people like that.
Yeah, you work on people with, we talked about movement or, movement patterns and optimizing them or improving them, getting them better. And obviously the squat is a big focus here. Is there anyone that you've worked with or that you watch that in your mind has what you would consider particularly perfect squat technique?
I mean, that's a good question. I think the thing to understand too is that perfect is going to look different for everyone. And the reason for that is because, a high bar is going to look different than a low bar squat. Someone who has very long femurs is, relative to their torso is going to have a very different looking squat than, a Chinese athlete like Liu Xiaojun, who's got a very different torso to length relationship and is almost sitting vertically in the bottom of a deep squat. So perfect's going to look a little bit different for everyone, but in that sense, there are a lot of people that I've worked with that just have excellent mechanics. And a lot of them are the Olympic lifters that I work with. For example, Chad Vaughn, who is my coach programming wise for Olympic weightlifting, that I've worked with him for a while, has immaculate technique. And it's almost someone that I try to emulate whenever I touch the barbell. So I've done a couple of videos with him where we are coaching other Olympic weightlifters in technique, but fundamentally the squat as well. And one of the things that Chad always preaches is for an Olympic lifter, so for anyone who's also participating in CrossFit and trying to do a lot of the Olympic lifts, the ability to sit down and just sit ass to grass in a deep pause squat comfortably, almost relaxed within the hips a little bit for a long period of time, 10 seconds, if not more, is a trait, a quality that is extremely beneficial for an Olympic lifter because it shows that they have the capacity and the efficiency to sit down in that very extreme position so that when they do snatches and cleans, they can get into that reception much easier because they own that position better with the squat, sort of sets the fundamental foundation for it. And one of the things that Chad will do sometimes is during different things where he's doing talks, he will sit with maybe 300 pounds or more on his back, and he'll sit down ass to grass and just have a conversation down in that position with that much weight on his back. And it always blows my mind because it's such a beautiful thing when you see great weight moved with excellent technique.
Yeah, I'd be in a tough spot if I had to do that.
Yeah. So we have a couple little we'll call them games that we wanted to play with you here today, and one of them, this first one that we'll play, it's kind of an either or scenario. We want you to pick one or the other.
Okay.
And this will be a fun format. You'll probably recognize the format in a way, and I think you'll get a laugh out of this. So, and it'll lead to a couple follow-up questions, kind of about some social media stuff and that sort of thing that you have to deal with just having as big of an audience as you do at this point. So, you pick. We're hoping you'll laugh at this. This is fun.
Okay.
So, you have to pick one or the other, and you have to pick which one of these is
more impressive.
More impressive would be the terminology we'll go with. So, lifter A is he's a scratch golfer, and he squats 500 pounds. Lifter B has bowled a 300 game, and he also squats 500 pounds. Which one is more impressive?
I mean, you have to go with lifter B every single time. I mean, hands down, lifter B always wins.
So by default there, you're saying the bowler.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Another test here. Lifter A. Okay. Lifter A used to be able to bench 405 in high school. Lifter B shadow boxes between sets in the commercial gym.
Oh man, see that's tough because I do see a lot of people that used to say, it's. I'd have to go again, lifter B every single time.
Okay, we'll test you on one more then. So, lifter A read the book Super Training from cover to cover. Lifter B has listened to every minute of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, every episode.
The funny thing you would say that because I actually had been listening to the Joe Rogan podcast before this earlier today, so I'm going to have to go with lifter B.
Okay. And the thing about that is you've invested a lot of time when you get through every Joe Rogan episode.
Yes,
that is true.
So it's true. So you weren't kidding. You went lifter B straight through there.
I really did, yeah. And I have to say I love the fact that you guys brought that one up because that is probably. The post that you guys are referring to is probably my most enjoyable social media story to tell.
Yeah. So for anyone that maybe there's someone listening that's not aware of this, but what was the original post? I guess.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a couple years ago, and for anyone that follows Squat University, every once in a while, usually every day, but sometimes I'll mix it up. One of my posts will be. Like a tweet that I'm just capturing the post and I throw it up on social media and then we talk about it. So a written meme, I guess you would say. And the message behind the post, actually, I'll just say what the post said first off. It was, if I remember correctly, like lifter A squats 650 pounds, I think is what it was. And there's a little hip shift, a little knee cave in training. And then I said, lifter B squats 500 pounds. And it looks immaculate in training. And I said, both are impressive, but lifter B is more impressive. What are your thoughts? And you would have thought I said, powerlifting is the stupidest sport in the world. Like that's how the internet took it. And there were people I had never even heard of that were like making YouTube reviews of it and like having these long discussions and like, what was Aaron saying? And I was like, wow, of any post I had made before. And again, by this time I've been posting for years, things that like were saying the exact same thing.
But not quite this exact format before.
Not that exact type thing. And really a lot of it spurred, which is really funny, from a conversation I was having with Ed Cohen, like just prior. And we were talking about how Ed's like, I would make every single rep look the same. Like I would make sure that my technique wouldn't break down. Like technique's the most important thing. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting because I see a lot of really strong lifters that they'll push through a lot of technique issues in training. But they won't really worry about it as much because there's the idea that, I'm more concerned with how much weight's on the bar, and they sort of set themselves up for the short-sighted approach of lift more weight now, but not care about my technique. And in the description of the post, the big thing, literally the first line was, I'm not telling any of you guys, like these two people, what their 1-rep maxes are. I'm only saying that in training, this is what they lifted that day, and one person stayed within their technical capacity and one person didn't. I'm not talking about competition, because obviously in competition, the person who lifts the most amount of weight wins. So that's obviously more impressive. I'm clearly talking about in training, which one of these qualities is of the most important factor, and it's technique over the amount of weight, so that when you work your butt off in that aspect, you get better long-term outcomes. But obviously most people don't read the copy. So it just sort of blew up, and it was sort of interesting because they're like, I just like reading the comments sometimes. And yeah, there was a lot of people that were like, you are the worst thing to ever happen to powerlifting. Some people got it and they're like, oh yeah, I agree. And then other people were like, this is stupid. You're an idiot. So it was a fun day on social media, needless to say.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I remember when the post came out and like not really thinking twice about it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's on brand with all of his other stuff. It makes sense. Yeah. And then like all of a sudden I was seeing memes pop in, and it's like, are these memes about that post? Like, I don't even remember. And I had to go back. It's like, okay, yes, they are referencing this lifter A, lifter B thing. And I guess I was surprised how like heated people got about it. And my takeaway was, I guess everyone's like a world-class competitive powerlifter the way they feel about this. Like, it's just everything is, nope, the absolute amount of weight is the only thing that matters was like the big takeaway it seemed like people had.
First off, there were people literally making t-shirts saying like lifter A and lifter B on it. I'm like, wow, this like literally one tweet was like spurning people to like make money off a meme. And then also the funny thing too is like people were really getting into it in the comments as far as they're like, well, if someone can squat 650 pounds with a slight knee cave, then I'm sure they can rep 500 pounds at least 5 times. And I'm like, well, we are reading into this way too much, guys. Yeah. And then I was like, people that were really getting heated, I'm like, you realize like I've been saying this exact same thing, maybe in a different line of way of saying it for the past like 5 years. Like this isn't new. If you're new to following Squat University, maybe this is the first time you've heard me say technique matters over weight, especially in training. But other than that, I was sort of blown away. So it was a funny post for sure.
Do you think there's anything that Lifter A could have done to bolster his resume? Perhaps like had Lifter A, in addition to the 650 with suboptimal form, maybe if he also ended world hunger, then would you give it the nod to Lifter A?
You know what? The funny thing too is like I work with a lot of Lifter A's. You know what I'm saying? Like right. The people that have the problems are the people that are reaching out to me. I don't have people reach out to me that have like excellent technique. Like people reach out to me because they're wanting to fix things. So like here's our sub caption: Lifter A squats 650 with a slight knee cave and hip shift. Yet after his set, like does this corrective exercise to try to work on fixing himself and getting better so he knows that he can do it better next time. Like that would have been perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like something like that along the lines, because no one is perfect. No one is perfect, especially if you're a competitive athlete. We're always working and striving towards getting better, but we're always going to have days where technique doesn't work perfect. But in that same sense, we don't just go, oh yeah, it's fine. Like I'm just going to continue pushing through bad technique. The goal is to always strive to become 1% better and work on cleaning things up. If we even take injury risk out of the game, because there's a lot of people that'll say, well, there's no evidence that technique leads to injury, which I disagree with, but just take efficiency standpoint. You ask any high level athlete, does technique matter? 100% they're going to say yes. I was just talking with Julius Maddox the other day. You brought him up earlier, and Julius was talking about how at anywhere north of 85 to 90% with any type of training, you're going to see technique falter. It's not going to look 100% perfect, but the more you can keep those problems at bay and minimize those issues, the more efficient you're going to be in your power production and the decreased risk you're going to have of a bigger injury. Because he knows that if you're at 85, 90% plus, and you have a bigger technique falter and then it continues to propagate and get worse, like there could be one wrong move and that could be the end of your career because you sustain a bigger injury, because that happens when you're pushing big weight. You know, I talked to Jen Thompson the other day, 11-time world champion powerlifter, you know, one of the best bench pressers in the game on the women's side. And we were talking about the discussion of technique, and she's like, wait, there's people that say technique doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, no elite lifter is saying that technique doesn't matter. So when you see a lot of these posts and there's people in the comment section that are like, no one cares about knee cave or hip jab. You talk to an elite power lifter or weightlifter and you ask them, do they care about those things? And they're going to say, of course I do. They happen for sure when you're under big weight, but there's things they're trying to minimize and cut down so they can be more efficient and decrease the risk of injury long term.
Is there it doesn't matter if this is lifter A or lifter B or lifter C in this scenario, it could be lifter Z even. Is there such thing as prior to training or actually even just throughout the week, could a lifter be doing, is there such thing as too much mobilization work or too much warming up?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. That's a funny thing I also get sometimes that, you know, you'll see on the social media world, because I advocate for making sure that we're priming our body well to perform well, you know, so I advocate and teach people different warm-up things and things to do to perform well. And I like to think of warming up like if you were to go to a nice restaurant and pick something from the menu, right? You have an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. You don't pick everything off the menu. So like the last thing I want people to do is walk into a gym and do 40 minutes of warming up. I mean, I even think 25 to 30 minutes for most people is going to be too much because you're just wasting your time. The idea when you go into the gym is to prime your body to perform as well as possible. And as a side effect, there's a decreased injury risk while you're training. So you got to ask yourself with everything that you're doing, is this going to help me perform better? And for some people, it means they need to do X, Y, and Z. In other people, they need to do A, B, and C. So everyone's warm-up is going to look a little bit different. And at times, that same person may need to add different things and subtract different things as they go throughout a training program in near competition because their body's going to change. The coach may want to tweak different things. They may have little tweaks along the way. So the warm-up's going to change a little bit. But the idea of warming up too much is definitely a potential for some people because A, they're wasting time. I see some people, I've been to some gyms before where you see someone literally foam rolling for like 15 minutes and they don't even like get up and start moving and touching a barbell for 35 minutes. That's way too long. Other thing you'll see some people doing is way too much stretching and mobilization. You know, the idea is we want to do mobility work that allows you to get into the most advantageous positions for your training. I'm not trying to create Gumby out here either. So especially for a power lifter, stiffness to a point is a performance enhancer. If I get a power lifter too loose, they're going to not have the sufficient stiffness to maintain structure under tremendous load. So if a power lifter is doing 30 minutes of mobility and stretching, they could actually be detracting from their performance. So it's all about the individual, what they need, and you know, the task at hand. But yeah, definitely you see some people on social media, they're like, Squat University wants you to warm up for 30 minutes. I'm like, I've never said that. You know, but in the same sense, like I don't want someone to walk into the gym and just grab the barbell. Because while that may work for one person, a lot of people would benefit from even 10 minutes of doing something specific to what their body needs. To prime a little core stability, you know, get their hips maybe a little bit more open to hit a little bit more advantageous positions in their squat. Something what they need. And again, what Julius Maddox does for his bench press warm-up may not be exactly what Jen Thompson needs for her bench press warm-up. But either way, I can promise you, both of those elite bench pressers are not going into the gym and grabbing the barbell and just starting to bench. They're doing something to warm up.
Yeah, and we touched on the social media stuff, and this may be just purely a function of, say you have 2 million followers, there's a certain fraction you're going to experience a lot of you know, negative just comments.
0.1% of 2 million is a lot of people.
Right, exactly. So maybe that's just a function of it, or because whether it's like the lifter A, lifter B thing, or maybe it's feet and shoes, there's some polarizing things that people like to take and run with. A, what do you think? Do you think it is just a function of your size, or is there anything else there? And also, do you ever get to feel defensive initially about any of that, or do you just I mean, is it just like, well, all
is just
all
with the
engagement,
territory now?
you know, it's growing. That's a positive.
Yeah, no, those are great questions. So first off, like, why does it even occur? I mean, for sure, I would say because of the size, I'm an easy target. I mean, anyone that is got a bigger following, whether you're, a big name athlete or a social media presence, or like, I mean, for example, you see celebrities, they're in, a lot of these different magazines you'll see checking out a grocery store, right? I think anytime you have a bigger brand name, there are going to be people that just naturally want to talk about you and, use whatever you are creating to also bolster what they're doing. I mean, I have people all the time that would just like stitch some of my videos on TikTok and just completely say the opposite of what I said, but they're using my opening video as a way to draw people into what they're saying. I think the second thing that goes along with the lines is a lot of the stuff that I talk about is injury, I guess, prevention, injury, rehab, things that affect the body from a pain and injury perspective. And, in the world of what I do, so physical therapy, which I'll also include people that are in the medical field or chiropractic field, there are a lot of different opinions. I mean, you go to one physical therapist, they're going to maybe say something completely different from another physical therapist. Like, for someone that may not be in the field, you may not realize like there's a lot of different opinions when it comes to the best practices for dealing with things. So sometimes you will make a statement that a lot of people agree with and a lot of people have benefit from. And there's going to be that one person that's like, you're a freaking idiot. I've read all this science and you're disproven and you're blah, 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 blah. And they'll use that and just sort of go off that. And there'll be a very big voice in the opposite direction of what you're saying. I mean, I see that all the time. There's people, for example, I'm a big fan of a lot of the work that Dr. Stuart McGill has done. And, if anyone has been in the powerlifting world, they know of Dr. Stuart McGill because he's been, around so many other higher level strength athletes and taken them from the worst place in the world back to competing at a higher level and setting world records. I mean, Brian Carroll could barely walk without pain and then squatted 1,306 pounds years after working with Stu. So not only have I seen his work, actually take hold and do amazing things with other people, the science is there. I see it in my own work every single day. And yet you'll see some keyboard warrior who makes memes for a living say, well, don't listen to someone who does pig spine research back in the 80s. Like, he's an idiot. And I'm like, seriously? Like, you're going to say something like, if you even break it down, only 10% of McGill's work was even on cadaver spines. And anyone who even understands science knows that cadaver spines are the only way that you can do an identical research, taking certain types of loads on 80 different spines. You can't do that with human research. It's completely unethical. So it's interesting from that standpoint. So I think right now I've got maybe 5 or 7 meme pages that like exclusively make content that shit on me, which is really, it's funny. But I think the second part of your question was like, do I get defensive at all?
Yeah.
And I'll say this, when I first started, it was a shock. I mean, like, you think about it, like when you're trying to make content to help other people and like you feel like this is your calling, that you're here to try to make the world a little bit better place. You want to step into the social media world as being a brand, as being someone who's talking to other people and trying to help others out in the best way that you can. And when you're making all this content, then you start seeing people that are saying this stuff. At first it can be really weird. And I understand why so many people have like mental health issues because of social media. I mean, literally, like, I have social media accounts that I can see their comments that are literally like, fuck Aaron Horschig.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
to most people, that would be very discerning. Right. And I understand why it would give a lot of people anxiety. They wouldn't want to make content. They would want to fight back. They'd want to make posts, be like, oh, this guy told me to fuck off. Like, I'm going to show you why he's wrong. I don't do that. I literally, like, my whole approach to social media is like, if I'm trying to make the world a better place and try to help other people, I'm going to try to bring kindness. I'm going to try to bring generosity. I'm going to try to bring education into what I do. I'm not here to try to engage, combat, or make, those type of posts, because I know like that would bring me so much anxiety to always be on the defensive. There are some people that are really good at making those type of posts. I mean, Lane Norton, I love Lane.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy,
he's good at it.
He's very good at it.
Yeah.
I could not do what Lane does. Like, it would bring me so much anxiety to constantly be on the defensive to try to argue against these people that have, in my opinion, like completely the most ridiculous claims in the world, like I mentioned earlier. So really, I don't even concern myself with it. And one thing that also helps me, and why I feel like I've taken a little bit different stance, is when you look at the people that surround you in your group, right? So this would be like my wife, my family, my friends, people also within my field that I hold at high esteem. So Dr. Stuart McGill, Kelly Starrett, all the athletes that I work with that are, some of the most elite athletes in the strength world. When I talk to them about things like this, and they're just like, man, screw those people, like, keep doing what you're doing. Like, you're doing great work. You're helping so many people. Like, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. If I have those few people that I hold in high regard and who I trust and who I look up to, if they're telling me like to keep doing what I'm doing and that they approve of what I'm doing, then who the hell is some meme page with a couple thousand followers that's, that is putting out hateful content? Like, who is that to me? It's nothing. It literally just goes right over my head. I see it, I move on, and it doesn't affect me at all. But I know for a lot of people in the social media world, like, that's tough because, a lot of people, the way they speak to others, like, it gets at them. And it, that's why I think we see a lot of mental health issues within people that are not addicted to, but are in social media big time. Because it's right up in your face all the time. So I think if it weren't for the way in which I approach it, I think a lot of people would be in a little bit different places because, yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, I think there's at least like 5 to 7 meme pages that literally straight, like, that's all they do is you can just see it's squat you, squat you, squat you. And it's really funny because it's like, man, this is what I do for my life. And, it's just straight hate, hate, hate. But it is what it is. And, it doesn't faze me at all because I know in my, I guess you'd say in my heart of heart, the way I'm approaching things is with good intentions. I'm here to help other people. I'm here to help athletes get out of pain, improve their technique, and reach, be able to lift big weights for the rest of their life. And I think when you approach things with the right intention, people that try to, naysay, it just goes in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, that's a good approach, no doubt. And, it'd be hard for some of those people, if they had the opportunity to hear you say that, what you just said, and then for them to still keep their nasty stuff, and like there's different lines too. Some stuff I assume you see some things and you think, okay, that's actually funny. Like some stuff isn't like
for sure.
Some there's different lines,
between like taking just like total cheap shots or like even somewhat clever.
Right.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I saw people like make a t-shirt on like lifter A versus lifter B, I was like, I should have actually thought of that first.
That's actually a good idea.
A couple extra bucks. Like, yeah, like there's stuff like that. Like, I mean, if you can't laugh at yourself, you have an issue. You know what I'm saying? So like, of course, I think some of the memes are pretty funny. And other ones are, just, I feel bad for the person almost that they're sitting there and thinking about me most of the day.
Your rent-free headspace.
Exactly.
Okay. We've got, should we jump into over-under time?
I think so.
Okay. We've got another game we like to play. If you believe it or not, Lifter A, Lifter B was made specially for you. But
I appreciate it, guys.
This next game we do play with every guest that we have on. So this is a overrated, underrated game, and it's relatively straightforward. You have your druthers to elaborate as much or as little on each one if you want to, but you just can't ride the line. You have to either land over or under on each one. So topic number one, and these are all hand-picked for you. So topic number one, overrated or underrated, Tupac.
Oh, gosh. I love Tupac. So I'm going to say Tupac to a lot of people, I'm going to still say he's underrated. Because I think if you look at a lot of his songs, I mean, I'm a huge 90s hip hop fan. So I would say I'm a huge Tupac fan. Underrated. One of the greatest of all time.
If is 90s hip hop your favorite genre, or what is your favorite genre?
For sure.
Okay,
yeah.
So
90s hip hop.
Who's the best?
Oh gosh. I mean, when you look at the best, I mean, there's so many different people, but I would say like top 5. I mean, I would put Biggie, Tupac up in there. I do enjoy a lot of things like sort of older school, like Wu-Tang Clan. Man, just any like boom bap rap is what I would just listen to on shuffle all day long.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a good Mount Rushmore up there then. Okay.
Yeah.
Overrated or underrated BFR training?
So I would say that's a tough one because I see sort of both lines of it. I'm going to say it's still underrated because I still think a lot of people don't understand BFR. I think some physical therapists overrate it because that's all they do and they don't actually load the person. But I'm going to say it's underrated for the fact that a lot of people don't understand its uses and how practically helpful it can be for recovery, for modifying training load on someone. And if you're cool, I'll take a little segue and jump down the rabbit hole with this.
Yeah.
So
you have your druthers, remember to elaborate as much as you'd like. So
BFR is simply a way of modifying how the body perceives load. So whenever you're sticking the different pads on yourself, the tourniquet-like straps, and you're fastening them tight, basically it shuts off blood from going into the limb, or shuts off blood returning as much, but there's very minimal blood supply. Basically, it's going to trap it in that area. What it's going to do is create a hypoxic environment because then you can't get new oxygen to and from those muscles. Now, the body senses this low oxygen environment and basically thinks that it's working much harder than it really is. So it's going to respond in a number of different ways. Your heart rate's going to increase. You're going to create, growth hormone increases. You're going to increase the amount of fast twitch muscle fibers that you're going to recruit. Whereas usually with low load exercises, you're going to primarily be recruiting slow twitch muscle fibers first. So it sort of flips how muscle fibers are being recruited with low load activity. So for someone that maybe, let's say they could usually squat a good amount of weight, but because of a knee injury, they can't squat heavy. Maybe they just tore their ACL. So they're going to physical therapy and it's like the second week and they can barely do a body weight squat. I can put BFR on them and have them hold like a 20-pound kettlebell and their body is going to respond as if it is much heavier because we're basically tricking the brain into thinking the muscles are working much harder than they really are. So it allows us to decrease the amount of atrophy that we see post-operatively and give us a good training stimulus, even when we're not using really heavy load. So for an athlete that's just out of an injury, they can't maybe load as much. It allows you to optimize the training process, the rehab process. So I don't have to just do 2-pound ankle weights. I don't have to just do body weight movements. I can make the body think I'm training much harder without actually putting a load on the tissues that can't tolerate it yet. So that's the first thing it does with that. Let's say also maybe you're a master's level athlete and you used to be able to squat 3 times a week and you can't really recover from that type of training as much anymore. There's research showing that if you were to take 2 of those days and turning them into BFR days where you're only using maybe 30% of your 1 rep max, you can still make good progress in your overall 1 rep max training by just having 1 heavy day and 2 lighter BFR days with only 30% of your 1 rep max. So it allows someone that maybe doesn't have the capacity to train heavy as much as they want to anymore as they get older, they can still continue training and making progress that way. So it allows us to optimize the training for an older individual. There's also ways in which we can train BFR to help recover a little bit more efficiently. So Chris Duffin, I'm sure a lot of your listeners have heard of Chris. He's the head of Kabuki Strength. So when Chris was doing his Grand Goals campaign and trying to squat 1,001 for 3 reps, he would use BFR post training. And what he would do is he would pump the BFR cups up to 80% of total occlusion. And he would put those on and just sort of relax for 5 minutes. And he'd put the Mark Pro device on, so the E-stem device, and just sort of get this natural pump in the muscles. And he would put that on for 5 minutes on, 5 minutes on, 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off. And what that's going to do is sort of flush the system, but also I think you're going to see some hormonal changes as well with growth hormone and things like that. So it can be really helpful to optimize the recovery process versus maybe just relaxing and doing nothing, or it's pretty similar to doing maybe another active recovery workout, but obviously you're just completely relaxing. So I think there's a lot of benefits to BFR, but not enough people know about it yet, which is why I try to show it every once in a while. I've written a couple blogs on it, and I have a longer YouTube video on it. But I will say for the practitioner, sometimes in my situation, I have seen people overvalue it, because I've gotten that post-op ACL athlete at like 4 months out, like 16 weeks out, and they haven't even squatted a barbell yet because their PT has only had them do BFR. So BFR is only in the rehab world a segue to allow us to optimize loading when we can't load the body, because it would be too much on the tissues that would then spark the injury process again or make things worse. So eventually we got to get back to the point of putting weight on the body. So in that case, I would say it's overrated for some practitioners.
That makes sense. A couple of years ago, I did tear my ACL and had it surgically repaired, and my physical therapist did have me doing BFR training, and
but at 16 weeks out, you said, I'm done.
No, we did use it as a gateway, though, or as a interim idea. I would say it is quite the uncomfortable feeling at times, though, to get used to with training. With
it sucks. Like, it should not be fun. Like, if you're doing BFR, like, that's what I try to tell people the first time doing it. I'm like, imagine the worst leg pump that you've ever had. Like, if you've done a set of 20 squats before, or like you've pushed a prowler or something, and like you're just like, your legs are pumping so hard. Think about that, but sustained for like the next 10 minutes times 10. That's what BFR feels like. It sucks.
Yeah, it does. Okay. Good answer. Overrated or underrated Socrates?
Socrates?
Socrates.
Yeah. So where this came from is we did a deep dive on Instagram, and I saw that you used a couple Socrates quotes.
Socrates. I swear I thought you said Socrates.
Oh,
Socrates.
No. You're just catching our South Dakota accent trying to pronounce.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I was like,
Greek names. Yeah.
Socrates. Great. Great guy. Excellent quotes. I think his quote, it was the first line of my book, The Squat Bible.
Right.
No man should have the right to go without, finding the true strength that his body is capable of. I mean, that's just one of the quotes that I feel has been the most impactful, is the idea that, you don't have to be a competitive athlete, but I don't think there should be a person that goes through our life without really pushing their body. Strength is for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a competitive power lifter, if you're, a 40-year-old gardener, if you're a 65-year-old grandma, like, all these people should be training their body to some capacity, because I do find that that's the way to find, your overall best self, mentally and physically, to live the life that you want to live.
That's good. Who is Milo?
Who is Milo? That's a great question. So,
just a follow-up question to that.
Yeah. So Milo is coming from the ancient story of Milo of Creton, which is sort of goes back to the fables of how traditional periodization started. So ancient Greek philosophers would tell the story of Milo of Creton, that at a young age he would pick up the calf. So he'd pick up the calf, and then as he would pick it up and walk around with it, and that as the calf grew in size to a full-grown bull, so did his strength grow. So he was one day walking around with a bull weighing over 900 pounds. And I think as the story goes, he walked it down to the Olympic Stadium, walked it around the stadium, killed the bull with a sword, and ate it in front of everyone. So that part was not really included in the story that I used in my book. But the idea was...
There's sort of part 2 coming.
Yeah, exactly. But funny story, actually, the story of Milo, he actually died. I think he got his foot his foot trapped like in an old tree stump and like wolves ate him. I don't think many people have ever heard that story before.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. But as far as like rebuilding Milo, so that was the title of my second book, was the idea that Milo was sort of this historical figure that sort of led to the idea of progressive overload strength training. So that was sort of the figure that a lot of people associate with, like, this is why we strength train, this is how we strength train. And it's both science and story, because that is the only way to build strength, is to progressively overload. However, a lot of people sort of push against this envelope, sort of like a double-edged sword, in that they will push more than their body can recover sometimes. And in doing that, do find aches and pains. So the idea with my book was, we are rebuilding Milo. I want everyone to be able to find their true ability to become their own version of Milo and rebuild into that using the different, things that I would give you to. If you have back pain, try these different tests. What did you find? All right, here's what you're going to do to sort of put together your own individualized workout program to then do your own rehab so you can get back to lifting big ass weights, which is what a lot of people love doing.
For sure. Okay, so that's who Milo is. We know that now. So this is our last overrated, underrated topic, and then we'll wrap up right after that.
Okay.
So we always save the best for last, though, and this one's kind of worth everything. So overrated or underrated, Natty Light.
Oh man, that was our drink back in college. So I'm gonna say, if you were to ask me when I was back in undergrad, I would have said underrated. It's the best drink in the world, and you can get a 30 rack for like $11.99. Guys, right now in my mid-30s, I'm gonna say it's very overrated. So I haven't had a Natty Light in years, and I'm hopefully will stay in the place where I don't have to.
So if you want a cold one, you're not reaching for a 30 rack of Natty Light anymore.
I'm not. However, I will say this though: a couple years ago, when they came out with the Natter Day flavor,
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised. So that one was actually underrated.
Okay, that's an insider tip then.
Yeah.
But there's just there's a certain level of convenience of having 30 beers in one pack.
That is very true. That is very true.
Those times when you really need 30.
A lot of times 24 just isn't enough. You need 30,
Okay, good news. It looks like you passed overrated, underrated. So that's
awesome.
Great accomplishment.
It was a fun game.
And we know most of our listeners probably already know where to find you in Squat University. If you just Google it, you'll see anything. But is there anything else, I don't know, maybe that you got new or anything in particular that you'd like to mention as far as what people should be checking out?
Yeah, I mean, just keeping up with all the stuff that I post on social media. I've got a couple big things coming up that will be made known within the next couple weeks to months that should change the game for a lot of people who are tired of certain weightlifting shoes that they may not enjoy. So big news for that coming up soon without mentioning too much. But besides that, yeah, just keeping up with Squat U. I try to post on almost every social media platform. So if you're on it, I'm probably posting content there.
All right. Well, we'll stay tuned on that little tidbit you dropped there. We really appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. I would say next time you talk to Travis, we're kind of buddies with him over the years. Make sure to tell him you're on the Massenomics podcast. It'll probably get a laugh or two out of him. So
I will definitely let him know.
All right. Well, Aaron, thanks for coming on. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks a lot, Aaron.
All right. Thanks so much for having me on, guys.
You bet. We'll see you.
All right. See you.
Cool beans.
He got those cool beans.
He got the cool beans. He got the cool beans indeed.
That was fun.
Yes, that was good.
He knows his stuff, doesn't he?
Yes. He I think we got him on a couple of those over under. You know, he probably didn't see Tupac and Natty Light coming from a distance.
Probably not. Blood flow restriction. We got to learn something there.
Yeah.
Didn't you say when you would do blood flow restriction, the guy would usually put it around your neck and just really?
Yeah, and be like, you're gonna feel a little slight pressure in here.
Yeah. It's a kind of an unorthodox way of doing this.
Head blood flow restriction.
He said, but my knee is what we're working on.
We would do it so no blood. We'd do it around my heart. Yeah, let's really test this thing.
Really progressive technique at the time. Get your heart the biggest pump it's ever had.
And here we are today.
Yeah. And now you can squat again. So can't argue with those results.
No, that was fun though. I think Mr. Squat U.
Yeah.
Horschig is someone we've had on our list for a while.
Yeah,
to
he's been
have
kind
on
of
here,
elusive.
So,
We've been waiting a while for this one,
we
but
tracked that son of a gun down, didn't we?
you can't run from us. Give us enough time.
That is the Massenomics podcast motto. There be people that at times
there's all these people. They're like wolves and lions. They just can run so fast, but we can run so far.
We're
that human stalker that just never.
We're whatever animal goes for a long time.
It's the human. They just keep following the other animal tires out.
That's
Eventually, here we are.
We're kind of the Energizer Bunny of podcasts, aren't we?
It's pretty good comparison, yeah.
So we don't know who's next, but just be on the lookout. It's going to be somebody good. We'll outlast all of them.
That we will.
Okay. I wanted to tell everyone about something else. Speaking of, there was some decent training talk in there, and it reminded me about a little bit of training I wanted to talk to you specifically about, and that's Juggernaut AI. And you want to know more, I assume. So come with me for this ad if you want to lift. I need your clothes, your boots, and your individual weak points on the major lifts. Juggernaut AI totally individualized training so it can be used by everyone from beginner to advanced lifters, including Tommy and myself, both using Juggernaut AI. Volume, frequency, exercise for weak points, phase potentiation, and periodization strategy all customized to you. You can pick the date for your meet or just a testing day if you're not actually competing, and how many days a week that you want to train. And there's several other individual characteristics about you and your lifts that you input in there. And then this training is continually adapting to your feedback. Sometimes the changes are happening as quickly as right within your next set that lifting day. Actually, that's rather frequent that you'll have changes right within the middle of your set that it's adjusting to you, or between set to set. Find out more and get signed up at juggernautai.app. Just get on your phone, search Juggernaut in the App Store.
And do what that damn app says.
Yes,
it knows what it's doing.
Most importantly, make sure to use our discount code. It's Massenomics, Massenomics, and that'll save you 10% off for the lifetime of your membership at Juggernaut AI. Thank you, Juggernaut.
I'm going to read you a little ad here too, Tanner.
All right.
That's about our good friends at Texas Power Bars. Buddy Caps first started lifting weights in the late 60s and began powerlifting in the mid-70s. At the time, he was working for Image Barbell, building gym equipment. Around 1976, a local machine shop started making Olympic bars for them, calling it the Image Bar. In 1977, Image Barbell became Champion Barbell. It was then that Buddy started looking at the bars with an intent of changing them for the better. In 1979, Buddy bought his first lathe to begin addressing the known issues. In 1980, his passion, drive, and purpose now had a greater mission. Buddy set out on his own to make what he believed was the greatest bar he'd ever seen and trained with, and the Texas Power Bar was born. It was strong as a house with the best knurling and was maintenance-free. Hundreds of state, national, international, world, and Massenomics powerlifting records have been and continue to be set and broken on the Texas Power Bar. To learn more about Texas Power Bars and buy one of their legendary bars, visit texaspowerbars.com.
Thanks, Texas Power Bars. Okay, so we were going to talk about our meet that we're potentially
I knew we had
working
one more
on.
thing on the list.
And so there isn't a meat yet, but we've mentioned
So we're
this
going to
on
talk
the
about our
podcast.
meat. It doesn't
exist. But we're going to talk about
But
it.
it could exist though.
We've thrown this idea. Outside of the podcast, we've talked about it quite a bit, but we've also talked about it on the podcast even a little bit. But we're considering hosting a powerlifting meet or helping host one here right in western Northeast South Dakota in Aberdeen. And we're still not sure if it's going to happen yet or not. But we're looking into it. We're doing a little more back-end stuff, and we could make it happen. If we do, it would probably be approximately a year from now. We'd be looking at like summer of 2023. It'd be a USPA meet. We probably know that much. We'd have Big Dave from Big North Dakota Dave would come down and help with, he's the official meet director, and we would help out with some of the other stuff that goes along with that, like venue, some of the equipment.
Those dirty details.
Yeah, all those dirty details.
That aren't directly related to lifting.
And we've talked about some of that stuff, and I guess what the exciting part to us is if we could get a lot of, like our Discord crew, for example, a lot of our longtime Massenomics listeners, followers, friends, if some of those people are able to make the trip to say be in this meet or just participate in it, to be a part of the action, whatever that entails, to hang out, to have fun, do partying beforehand, afterwards, any and all of that stuff. That is what could make it a lot of fun to us, I think.
That's where, because it's not just a meet. It's also
Right.
the official meetup for all these people we've never really got to meet
Right,
before, other
right.
than maybe there's been a few we got to talk to for a minute at the Arnold. But this would be a chance to have that offline Massenomics meetup.
But there's a lot of work that goes into a meet. There's anyone that's
is.
ever been a part of any meet before gets that, a powerlifting meet. And we haven't quite crossed that bridge yet to decide that we're full on going to do that. They're just running, if it's just a local meet and it doesn't have any of that aspects that we're talking about before, like of this Massenomics community, I don't know if that's a rewarding enough for us to want to do it, put all the work that goes into it, which, some people do want to do that. They're passionate about it.
The people that do that, those people are amazing.
But there is a lot that goes into it, and I don't know if it's, if I get the full satisfaction out of it, if we don't have this element of it being like just this like Massenomics community event.
Mm-hmm. That's what it'd have to be. This Massenomics party.
Right.
Because
that could be
great lifting happening too.
I mean, at its worst, if that didn't happen that well, like at its worst, what we'd have is a good meet.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But at its best, it could be so much fun. And in which case, then I'm like, that's so worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've had this conversation a lot of times, especially over the last few months. It's happening more and more. We're like, we need to decide. And that's what we keep going back to. If it goes like as good as we think it could, it'd be so much fun. And then it turns into a yearly thing. You have to do it. If it doesn't go quite that good, it's still going to be a fun meet, and it's going to go good, and everyone's going to have a good time.
Right,
There's going to be good equipment for
and that's
everybody
all
to use,
good,
and it'll be a good day. But it just starts to be,
it's too much work for just that, honestly.
It's a lot of work for just that, yes.
Yeah.
But we're already two guys that are somewhat strapped on time.
Right.
Already.
Right. And it just wouldn't be, it wouldn't make sense to prioritize it enough at that point, because, people say, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. Well, we probably can make time for it, but under those circumstances, we don't probably want to make, push other stuff around to make that time for it.
Yeah. Push everything out, all of our other obligations, put those on hold to do this if that's all. If it's
so more will be to come on that one way or another. We just don't know we really probably don't know what that is yet, but we'll keep everyone in the loop. It'll be interesting for people, I think. And if something does happen, I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It could be pretty
potential meet a year from now.
Yeah. It could be cool beans, I would say, wouldn't you?
Very cool beans.
Yeah. Maybe that's some of the awards we would get out as some bags of cool beans.
One bag of cool beans for you. 2 for you.
Yeah. Ooh, double cool beans for me.
50-pound bag of cool beans for you.
Yeah. Yes. So stay tuned on that. Okay. Do we have one more ad?
We do have one more ad.
Okay.
Should I dig in?
We better hit him with it.
In 1995, Maurice Big Mo Huffman founded SwissLink.
Mo.
He had a partner based in Switzerland, and their mission was to bring authentic Swiss Army goods to the United States and into the hands of those yearning for quality gear at uncompromised prices. Over the years, that mission expanded to nations across Europe and beyond. Now, for nearly 3 decades, Big Mo has been traveling far and wide in search of the best items for military forces around the world. Big Mo doesn't only find authentic military clothing for SwissLink, he brings in everything you can imagine, from Czech army bedpans to Italian champagne glasses. At SwissLink.com, you can find classic military surplus uniforms, a great selection of military-issue backpacks, tools, wool blankets, NATO fuel cans, gas masks, emergency food, first aid kits, survival packs, camping gear, and so much more. SwissLink's unrivaled collection and dedication to quality customer service sets them apart from the rest. Treat yourself to the real thing with authentic military surplus and save 15% off your first order from SwissLink.com with code MASS, M-A-S-S, at checkout. That's SwissLink, SWISSLINK.com. Thank you, SwissLink.
Yeah, thanks, SwissLink. Get out there and buy some SwissLink. You can't go wrong.
NATO fuel cans, baby.
Everyone needs a NATO fuel can or two in their life, if you ask me.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And then once you finish buying stuff from our sponsors, head over to Massenomics.com and buy some of our stuff. we've got a pretty good collection of shirts there on our website. If you haven't ever checked those out,
If you listen this long and you've never bought anything, boy, that store is just waiting for you.
Yeah, so please do. If you've been listening for a while and you haven't supported yet and you're looking for ways to support, that'd be a great way is buying something from our website.
Shirt's great because not only do you have another piece of apparel you can wear to cover your skin, but if you're out in public and someone sees it, you're kind of officially part of a club together.
That's true. You're in the club.
And
just the other day at a park here in town, I was sitting there and I saw a guy walk by in a Bench Heavy t-shirt.
And you're like, damn, that guy must get it.
I was like, that guy gets it. And then I'm like,
that's kind of crazy because the other day I went to a park and I wore a Bench Heavy t-shirt, Tanner.
Come to think of it, it was you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I hadn't put two and two together yet, but it was actually you.
Yeah, the timing works out.
Yeah, it checks out.
Okay.
Our storylines match up.
Glad we solved that mystery.
And if you don't want it, maybe you're not into wearing shirts, that's weird. But if it is the case, you could support us by becoming a supporting member.
Well, before you get there, we do have lower body garments too.
That's true.
So, yeah.
So hopefully you're into lower body garments.
There's some people that don't wear upper body garments, but most of them do wear lower body garments. So we do have you covered too.
Yeah, buy a pair of our shorts. Don't buy our hats, of course.
Yeah, we didn't say any headwear.
No, and then we've got several different flags and banners that can go up in your gym or your bathroom or your bedroom or wherever you like to put those. So,
but if for some reason all of those items don't fit you just quite right, if that's not the right time, then there's the supporting membership.
Yep. And you can't go wrong. That fits everyone.
That fits everyone. One size fits all.
Yeah, one size fits all. There's an option there for everyone.
And to do that, you go to Massenomics.com/join. You'll get access to the super exclusive but ever-growing Massenomics Discord community, which gives you the ability to listen to the first half of this podcast live every week. You'll also get an inside look at what's going on at Massenomics and access to some of the hottest Massenomics memes being pumped out by the community.
There's a bunch of, like, if you're just an Instagram follower, you won't even catch half of what's going on because there's so much in the Discord community. Man, it's active.
And you also get a discount code for your first
and then
Discord
surprise gifts, like perks,
surprise
just like
gifts, perks.
Next stop, Perk City.
Yeah.
Ding ding, all aboard.
You can't really list all of the things. You just got to experience it.
Yeah, that's the only way to really truly understand it. Like us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Give us a 5-star podcast review. Anything and everything. Tommy, where do they find you at?
You can find me at Tomahawk_D.
You can follow me at Tanner_Baird, but like we said, just make sure to follow Massenomics.
See ya.